one of the wonderful things I think about math, there are many, but just one is that we define things well in math, I think. So anyway, when it comes to settling an argument in math, go back to the definition. It settles everything. Things that you might not even think about having a definition, there's a definition for in mathematics. So here we're talking about a circle, something that you're very familiar with, but the definition says it's a set of points in a Cartesian coordinate plane that are at a fixed distance r from a specified point hk. Okay, the fixed distance r is called the radius. Okay, and the specified point hk is going to be the center of our circle. And so we have a standard form for the equation of a circle. Looks like this: x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, and so that's the formula that you certainly want to be familiar with, because we'll use it a lot on the test. So find the center and radius from each equation. Okay, so when I look at this one, here we have some guidelines. We're going to think about what the standard form for the equation of a circle is. And we just said it looks like x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, so when I look at this, apparently for me, h is what? H is 1, K is 5, and R is going to be what? 3, okay? And so my center is 1, 5. So we have a center at 1, 5 and a radius of 3, okay? Same thing over here. Again, I'm going to write my basic form beneath the problem. Okay, this time h is going to be what? Not just 4, but negative 4. We should note that as a part of the pattern, this negative sign is built in. We have to look at it that way. And so basically the symbol is going to change. Okay, so if we go back over to where we are here, this would technically be minus negative 4. And so that's why we're going to say h equals negative 4. K equals what? 0. Okay, we don't have anything there, so we'll say 0. And R is going to be we'll say the square root of 80, and then we could reduce that. 80 is what perfect square times 5? No, well, okay, 4 times 20. Something larger, though, so that we don't have to go through so many steps. What about 16 times 5? Is that 80? Okay, so 4 root 5, okay, is our radius. All right, so I've got a center of negative 4, 0, with the radius of 4 square root of 5. All right, questions about that? All right. Now we're going to turn it around. We want to be able to find the equation and write it in standard form. We're given the center and also the radius. So I'm still going to start with my standard form of the equation of a circle. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And we're just going to plug in this case, h is 4, k is negative 4. So when I plug in, I get x minus 4 squared plus what? y plus 4 squared equals 11. Very good. Okay. Then we have a center here, and okay, we get x, just what? Just x squared, since h is 0, plus y minus 6 squared equals 16. Okay, questions about any of that? Okay, very good. All right, so that was the easy part, because for the most part the problem was already in standard form. Okay, but what happens if it's not in standard form, if it's in more of a general form? Then what we're going to need to use to solve this is completing the square. Okay, remember completing the square? Yes? Vaguely? Okay, all right, well, we'll go back over it. We've got some step-by-step instructions here in the middle. What we want to do is find the center and radius of each circle. If we can get it to that standard form, then we can easily find the center and the radius. Okay, so to complete the square, it says first group the x terms and the y terms. So I'm going to rewrite this as x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 8y. And it also tells me to move the constant to the right hand side, so my constant 5 is over there. Okay, now when we complete the square, we take 1/2 of the middle coefficient, square it, and we're going to add that to both sides. So as far as the x's go, the middle coefficient is 4, half of that is 2. I'm going to square it and add it to both sides. Same thing here. My middle coefficient is -8. Half of that is -4. If I square it, it's what? 16. And I'm not even going, over here I'm going to write it as plus 4 squared, plus 4 squared. Okay? We'll put it as 16 in just a second, but the reason I don't want to write it that way on the left side is because I should be able to easily factor this. That's why we complete the square. This is going to factor as x plus 2 squared, the 2 coming from right here. This one is going to factor as y minus 4 squared. Okay, and then I can go on and add the 16, 4, and the 5. That gives me 25. Okay, questions about how we complete the square? Another one? Okay. We'll do another one over there. Let me finish this one and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. So we did that already, I think. We've already factored. I got ahead of myself. And so now we're ready to identify the center and the radius. So my center would be what? -2, 4. Very good. And the radius is 5. Okay? I'm terrible at making up problems. But let's just make one up. Suppose I have okay, and I'm just going to complete the square on this part. Okay, there are reasons why we might do this, like trying to solve for x. Okay, but first thing I did was I moved the constant to the other side. So I've got x squared plus 12x equals -7. And then I'm going to look at this middle coefficient, take half of it, which is what? 6. I'm going to square that and add it to both sides. So plus 6 squared. Okay? Therefore, when I get ready to factor, this factors is what? X plus 6 squared. Okay? Any questions about that? On the other side, I would get what? 36 minus 7 is 29, and then we could go on from there to solve for x if we needed to. Okay. All right, so let's go back to our circle example. We're going to look at this one. Okay, again, I'm going to get the x terms together. So x squared minus 6x, and get my y terms together, plus y squared minus 10y. And this is going to equal 15 when I move the constant to the other side. All right, so what do I need to add to x squared and negative 6x? 3 squared, okay? And we're going to do that to both sides. I'll go ahead and call it 9 over there. Here we've got y squared minus 10y. What do I need to add? 5 squared. Okay, we do it to both sides. Now I can factor. This is going to factor as what? How is this going to factor? That didn't work. Okay, it's going to be plus or minus? Minus. Okay, we're going to do x minus 3 squared. Minus because of the minus here in the middle. Okay, and then also what?
5 minus 5.
Very good. And it equals 49. Okay, so my center and radius, center is going to be what? Okay, 3, 5. And my radius? Right, square root of 49 or 7. Okay, questions about that? Okay, very good. All right, then what I want you to do is give it a try on your own in the next example. Okay, so when we separate our x terms, we get x squared minus 4x plus y squared minus 2y. I'm moving the 15, my constant, to the other side. Okay, take half of the middle term, which would be 2, and square that and add it to both sides. Okay, and so this factors as x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 20. So my center is what? 2, 1. Right? When I factored, it was x minus 2. And my radius? 2 root 5. Very good. Okay, 20 is 4 times 5. The square root of 4 is 2 root 5. Okay? Questions about that? How many people got that? All right, any questions? Okay, very good. Oh, I didn't even read that part. Yes, we were. Let's go back here. So we did talk about that, and remember I said it doesn't have to be just a linear function to find the x and y intercepts. We can find x and y intercepts with any type of function. So to find the x-intercept, we said we let y equal 0. Okay, and from, maybe we'll even work from this point. I don't know if it really matters. I think this will be a little easier for us. So we get x minus 2 squared equals negative 1 squared, or rather plus negative 1 squared equals 20. Okay, and I need to solve for x in this case. So we got x minus 2 squared equals negative 1 squared is what? 1, positive 1, so I subtract that from both sides. Okay, remember we extracted square roots. Remember doing that? Okay, I can take the square root of both sides. I get x minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 19. Or x equals 2 plus or minus root 19. So my intercept would be what? Remember we said it has to be a point. So we've got 2 points. 2 plus square root 19, comma 0. 2 minus the square root of 19, comma 0. Those would be my x-intercepts. Okay? For the y-intercept, we're going to let x equal 0. Okay, so we had x minus 2 squared, so that's just going to give me negative 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 20. Okay, we've got 4 here, so y minus 1 squared equals 16. If I take the square root of both sides, we get y minus 1 equals plus or minus 4, or y equals 1 plus or minus 4. Okay, well 1 plus 4 is what? 5. So we get 1 intercept at 0, 5, and 1 minus 4 is negative 3, right? So these would be my y-intercepts. Okay, questions about that?